Hello, readers. Thank you for tuning in to our June issue of the Enhancing Social Justice Education newsletter. Late May, Canadians across the country were horrified at the discovery of over 200 children's remains at a former residential school in Kamloops, BC. It is a tragic reminder of the horror of these genocidal institutions, the great injustice from which there has been far too many casualties, and from which has spurred generational trauma so deep that their great-great-grandchildren still suffer. In the wake of this tragedy, and in light of June as National Indigenous History Month, this issue is dedicated to remembering Canada's dark history and shining a light on Indigenous stories that deserve our attention. Recently, the CBC came out with a piece connecting the histories of the death of a 17-year-old Dean girl named Sky with the events that took place at Kamloops. The executive summary reads that though they seem like unrelated stories, quote, they are different chapters of the same continuing saga, the story of colonialism and the devastating damage it has done and continues to do to First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and urban Indigenous children, families, and communities across Canada. It highlights that 67% of the children in care in BC are Indigenous, even though the Indigenous are only around 10% of the population. These statistics are frightening and a horrific reflection of the continual effects of the past Canadian government's actions, affecting children who must live with the consequences, like Sky. The report is difficult to read at times. People who knew her often noted that it was easier for Sky to take care of everyone around her than it was for her to take care of herself, end quote. It's a glimpse at those 215 lost children and who they might have been. Although we cannot turn back the clock, we can work to hold governments accountable, improve inequitable Indigenous living conditions, and continue to share the stories of those who were robbed of their ability to do so, who will never grow up, who will never have children, who will never pass on their own traditions. We must remember the continual and current suffering of Indigenous peoples. This genocide is not a mere part of our history, but rather an ongoing problem affecting communities and families today. It is my hope that this newsletter can be even a tiny force in that movement. Thank you.